Welcome to another Complete Developer Raw, a live show with Will and BJ. Happy holidays, guys. It is right around the corner from Christmas. I know Will finished up his last day until next year. Actually, I did too, because I'm going to be off tomorrow for a doctor's appointment. So I'm done for the year as well. So that's pretty sweet. I have been doing documentation all week long. I mean, it's been insane because we're getting ready to move one of our apps into production. So I've been doing a lot of documentation for that, getting the code ready for if another team comes on to maintain it. Also, I've been doing a lot of tutorials because I've been having some downtime not developing. So they've tasked me with, all right, figure out how to do this and then write a tutorial for the rest of the team. So also, as you guys can see, I finally got my bookshelf put up, which is nice. The other one's on the corner over there, and got the books on it and everything. Yes, that is an autographed copy of Lindsey Sterling's book, The Only Pirate at the Party.
Of course.
What's going on with you?
Well, I have been doing project planning and speccing stuff out all week. And I actually got a bug today and was able to fix it, but it was CSS.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it still kind of sucked. Like you said, today was a half day. I finished at 3:30 for my half day. Let's just say that things didn't quite go as planned, but yeah, that was good. I don't have to go back until the 2nd unless something major goes wrong.
Nice. Very nice. I am out the same until the 2nd. And I won't even be in the state when I go back to work. I will be up in Ohio because the very next week, second week of January, I will be speaking at CodeMash. So one of the things I'm going to be working on this weekend before my family gets down here is finishing up my talk and then doing some practice run-throughs with it. Probably hop on with you and practice it once I get it all kind of synced up and stuff, and it's ready for someone to actually see. So guys, with the podcast, we've got some Patreon news. We have 3 new patrons. So shout out to Trent Norbertus. I really hope I pronounced that right. I'm really not sure. And Craig. Thank you guys for your pledges. That puts us at a total of 9 active patrons right now, so pretty exciting. With this, Will and I are looking into some new ways to reward people for that, and we're going to be talking about it at our next business meeting, and we'll probably make an announcement early next year as to what we're going to have there. Also, we're still working with our remote stuff. I don't know if you guys can tell, all of Will's microphones are a little bit crackly tonight. We don't know why, but we've been switching back and forth. We've probably spent about 30 minutes switching microphones around trying to find the one that sounded the best for him to use.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, I had some updates done on my machine and got it back yesterday. Yesterday? No, it was Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And, but I brought it home Tuesday night and I didn't hook it up because it was kind of late. Mm-hmm. And so I actually hooked it up for the first time Wednesday. And, everything ran, and I immediately got hit with a Windows update that decided that the NVIDIA card was my default audio card because it can output on HDMI. But I don't have anything plugged into that. I have an actual, built into the motherboard audio card, and that's what everything's plugged into, and it keeps switching it off every time NVIDIA updates the drivers, which is really frustrating when you've got a lot of stuff configured just like you want it. Mm-hmm. And this morning, I got on my Skype call, and I didn't get any audio. They could hear me, but I couldn't hear them.
Huh.
And it wasn't showing my speakers at all, and then it lost surround sound.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, well, and then after I thought I fixed that. It worked for a little bit, and I had to reboot again. And when it came up this time, instead of surround sound, I had a single channel. So it was all coming out of the center speaker. It's been weird
hardware, bro. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it's Windows, man. This stuff of like I get stuff stable and it's fine. I don't understand why they've got to go screwing around with my settings. I'm considering ways to like snapshot the registry and just be able to roll it back when they do this.
Not a bad idea.
It's getting obnoxious.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, if you guys notice, there is a thin blue line. I didn't even think about that. I just picked blue because it's my favorite color. But there's a blue line. Let me see if I can, running right between us here.
Yeah.
It was a weird transition last week.
It would have been really weird if I dodged.
Huh?
Would have been really weird if I dodged. Well, I'd have to dodge that way.
Yeah.
So it's like all backward. It would have been really strange.
But so it looked kind of weird, just like Will's feed ending and then mine immediately starting. So I thought, all right, I'll put some kind of divider in there. And the only option I had was just a solid color. I couldn't even do like a faded color thing. So I just, I did a solid blue line right there. I think it looks pretty decent. Seems to be coming through on the feed pretty well, looking at the Facebook Live as well. So that's awesome. It may or may not stay blue. I don't know. I may play around with it as we go on and get better at this. So, all right. Ready for some questions.
So our first question was, people don't want to hire me as a programmer. What should I do? Well, I'd say the first thing you should do is you should continue programming and try to just be more visible. Mm-hmm. That way you might actually start getting some of them coming to you instead of you going to them. It'll change the relationship around. The other thing I would do is I would try to figure out where in the process I'm falling down. Like if you're sending an interview or if you're sending your resume over and then you don't get called back, that tells you something about your resume.
Yeah.
If you get called back but you don't get called in, that tells you something about that phone screen. If you get called in but you don't get called back after that, that tells you something. And just work on that. It's like a marketing funnel. You just got to tweak all the pieces until stuff starts going through.
The other thing you can do is what I did a little bit of, and then we had one of the guys come into Developer Launchpad that he was having trouble finding a job. He eventually did, but he had gone further in school when he couldn't find a job during I guess it was the recession.
Yeah.
So then he was getting out now, trying to find a job again, and still struggling with it. And so he started doing a lot of open source stuff. He actually got to do some pretty neat stuff he told us about. And I was like, wow,
yeah, I was jealous.
Yeah, I'm like, that's really cool. So because he got to do all that, he was able to show, hey, here's things that I've done. Here's stuff I've worked on. And then we also kind of helped him out with some of the soft skills interviewing side of things that I don't think you learn as much in school.
Yeah, they don't teach you that at all.
Yeah. All right. Next question. I just can't learn programming. I don't get it. What is wrong with me? So, if you're of at least average intelligence, you should be able to learn the basics. There's a couple of things that you need, though. And you're not going to be told this in tutorials or things like that. So, we're gonna get honest about it right now. And you got to have the ability to focus, and you have to stick with the things that you're doing. A lot of people, they hit the rough parts because it's easy to write the Hello World programs, and some of the early on tutorials can be kind of fun. They've even got like what you guys did with me when getting me back into it was that kind of writing JavaScript to move a sprite around on a screen and play a game, sort of a puzzle type thing. I mean, there's a lot of that, and that's fun. And so you get interested, and then you get to the difficult things. And that's where people sort of fall off. One thing that Will told me when I was struggling with a couple of concepts that really helped me out, because I'm the type of person that I want to understand why I'm doing it before I do it. And he said, look, it's just going to take practice. You just have to do it a lot. Know that this is what you put in and this is what you get out. Even if you don't understand what it's doing, just do that. And then over time, you'll start to understand why it's doing what it's doing. And that helped me out probably the most, really, was that advice of just go out and, like, you know that when I put this input in to this code, this output comes out, and use that over and over again, then you start to understand what that code is doing.
Right. I couldn't have said it any better myself. So the next question, I guess it's that time, is how would you define a weak software developer? Oh, boy. Sometimes he puts stuff in here where I just go, this is designed to trigger a rant.
Yep.
I would say several things. The first thing is when they're ridiculously defensive and they're tied to a methodology. It doesn't really matter what the methodology is, right? You could have somebody that is overly tied to functional programming and like all the best practices and all that stuff. But when they get defensive and they have to look for the industry-wide right way versus the right way for the situation they're in, I would say that that is a sign of weakness. There's other stuff as well. I would say being so averse to conflict that you create more problems by avoiding conflict. So instead of going, hey, this is busted, we need to fix this because, I don't know, there's a memory leak. And you don't say anything about it because you don't want to offend anybody. And a year goes by and everybody's calling that piece of code and the memory leak is found by a customer. Mm-hmm. And you have to now change all that code sitting there because you were weak and you didn't deal with that. That's definitely not good. I would say somebody that gets to a senior level and then stays with the exact skill set that they had and doesn't develop themselves any further, that's real weak. That'll make some of the worst organizations that you can find out there.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that. And we had someone when I first started that I thought was more senior, and I got real frustrated until I was told, no, they've not actually done what you guys are doing. And so they're at about the same level as you so far as this technology. And I was like, oh, well, now I'm a lot less frustrated when they don't know what they're doing, even though they've been doing it for longer than you.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does. So, guys, if you have questions for us, you can leave them in the comments. Or we'd prefer that you send them to neckbeards@CompleteDeveloperPodcast.com because we get that. We check our email more often than we check our Facebooks. So, all right. There we go. Getting used to the... so, just in case you guys see me looking around, before when we were recording, we just had my laptop screen. And so everything was like right there in front of me. And I was just flipping between screens. Now I've got like the material that we're reading and comments and stuff on the main screen. And then the video over here. And then Will down there. And so it's all over the place. So you're seeing me look around a lot more and have to remember where things are. So, all right, guys, if you haven't already listened to it, and we don't know how many people have listened to it because yay, Blueberry. Go ahead and check out. Say it.
Yeah, our podcasting host periodically will just they'll get things up to a point where you feel like it's stable, and then they throw that in the toilet. And that just seems to be like their circle of life. So our stats were pretty good up until this week. And then, what was it, 2:00 this afternoon? I was like, we've had 61 downloads today. Like, and this is the point in the day when we've normally had like 1,100.
Yeah. I was gonna say we haven't had a day with that few downloads in over a year, almost 2. I mean, it's been a while. So if you haven't already listened to it, go check out Dark Patterns in UI Development. I say development here. I think the title is actually UI Design. We live in a society where people are praised for being clever, whether it is in finding better ways to do things or simply in being witty. Being clever is lauded in our society. That's Will's big word there. However, sometimes people are a little too clever, like Will, and edge into behavior that borders on unethical. Not like Will.
I'm baffled that you're saying that laud is a big word.
It's not. It's just not a common word.
Okay.
Given some of the words that I have used, it's not a big word. It's just an uncommon word. It's one that I don't use very often.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyways, dark UI patterns are an example of this in the web space. These dark patterns are used to get users to do things that they didn't intend to do through deceptive and nefarious means. In the episode, we discuss some dark patterns that you should be avoiding when you're building websites.
And next week is our predictions for 2019. It's the end of the year, and this will be the last episode of 2018. And as has become tradition for this podcast, we review our predictions from last year, talk about which ones we got right and which ones we got wrong, and then we give our predictions for next year. So, be kind of watching out for that.
All right, so just want to say, anyone that is as pedantic as the two of us, this is my fault. I got it backwards. Our tradition has been to do the resolutions at the end of the year and the predictions the first episode of the year.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I looked back at it and I was like, oops, after I'd already done all the setup for it. I'm like, you know what? We're just going to start doing it this way. Because personally, I think we should do predictions at the end of the year and then resolutions at the beginning of the year.
That's fair.
So you guys can tell us what you think in the comments, though. Speaking of comments, shout out to Josh, who has been watching us, and then FTC. Any plans to move to Anchor podcast host? Just heard a podcast on SE Daily with one of the developers from there. Not at the moment. One of the things, well, it's funny, Blueberry used to be like the best hosting for stats, and I think they may be just trying to do too much, but it's just the opinion of a user there. But we also really like their WordPress plugin, so we don't plan on leaving Blueberry so long as we're on WordPress.
Yeah, and it'll be a while before we can switch off of WordPress, I think.
Yeah, we're kind of ingrained there for now. Eventually, we do plan on leaving WordPress, and when we do, we will look at other options. It's just transferring is going to be a pain too. So, yeah. But guys, that pretty much wraps us up. Well, that's how I end a podcast, not how I end these. I'm a little off. Sorry.
Yeah,
we're gonna hop off here and record an episode. We will. That's what I was thinking. I wanted to talk about. We will not be doing live episodes through the holidays. So next week we will not have a live episode. I don't know if we'll be recording or not, but the plan is to not do the live. And then the first week of January, I will be in Cleveland, so we may or may not do that depending on if I can get a quiet space to do that. Our recording may be a little bit off that week.
That sounds a little bit unlikely, considering.
And then the following week, I will be at Code Mash. And if we can, we will try to do a live that week. Because I don't want to give you guys 3 weeks without us. I mean, who wants to go 3 weeks without us?
Just the people that know us.
True.
There we go.
This is very true. All right, we're going to hop off here. Also, go Preds. They're playing tonight. So we will talk to you guys in a few weeks.